Saturday Social is powered by FIFA 22 with PlayStation.
We're going to start the show, Joe, with the iconic Saturday Social whiteboard. There it is in all its glory. The reason we're doing this now, we're going to talk about players that we think need to leave each Premier League club, because if you look at social media this week, there's been a lot of high-profile players linked with moves away or rumours that are surfacing on social media. A lot of players, people talking about may leave in the summer. So what we're going to do is get our guests to pick players they think need to leave each club. Do you want to explain the criteria for this one?
Yeah, so we're going to go through all 20 Premier League clubs, and you're going to have to decide on one player that needs to leave that club. Now, need to leave is a bit tough, isn't it? So it could be from the player's perspective that they need to leave in order to further their career, more playing time potentially, or it could be from the club's perspective. They need to sell them. They need the money. We're going to let you guys basically decide how you want to pick, but you can only select one from each Premier League club. So if there's a difference in opinion, we're going to go based on the argument, right?
Best debate.
Best debate made. Let's go alphabetically then, starting with Arsenal. Dave and Nicole, I see you both picked different players here. So who wants to go first? Dave,
Go on. My guess, Dave.
I'm going to go Nicolas Pepe.
OK. Don't disagree.
I think he's had
record
enough time. Record signing.
72 million, was it?
72 million quid. Not made a league start since November. I worry for Nicolas Pepe. I think he played some great football at Lille. I don't know whether the Premier League suits him. I don't know whether Arteta suits him as a manager. You know, he's more of an inside forward. Arteta likes the wingers we've seen these days, more, players that are going to stretch the pitch. There were reports that there was issues with his first touch. Arteta had worked with him on it. They couldn't find a resolution. I don't think it works anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Could they get some of that back? Could they reinvest that in another striker maybe brought from abroad? I just don't think it's quite worked out for Pepe, and I think it's time for Arsenal to move on.
Yeah, it's the inconsistency, because he can play and you'll go, oh, yeah, I see it, and he can have a great game, and then he'll drop off again or just isn't played for a while. There's so much money as well. I think he said recently that there's also a slight problem with communication or language barrier.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's a good shout. I've gone, see, this is a bit of a not a rogue one. The reason I've gone for Bernd Leno is because I think he's very good, and I feel sorry for him.
So you think he'd want first team football, having had it for many years?
If I were him, obviously Ramsdale's come in and done a cracking job, which let's be honest, none of us expected that to happen. I think if someone sits here and says, no, I knew he'd be amazing at Arsenal, they'd be lying. He's done so well, but Leno, unfortunately, doesn't really have a place, at least, in the first team, in the Premier League, at Arsenal. Obviously, he played against Villa, actually, because Ramsdale couldn't. I just think he's too good to just sit on the bench and kind of waste away at Arsenal. I guess you'd then go, then who would be our backup?
I think that would be the only issue, is
problem,
if another keeper came in, would it be the same level? How important that is for Arteta, ball playing at the back. Are you going to be able to come
to an agreement? Or are we
but then if you're Bernd Leno, you want to go... Oh.
I suppose the counter-argument for both is that most teams would say you want two good goalkeepers, so would they let Leno go? The other counter-argument for Pepe would they be able to get the money that they bought from 72 million? Doubtful with the lack of game time. So there's counter-arguments for both, but you've got to agree on one.
You wouldn't make your money back from Pepe at 100%, you wouldn't.
Who do you think you get more money for?
Pepe still,
because contract's up in 2023 for Bernd Leno.
And you
well.
kind
Leno's
of need
30 years of age as well. So
I think you'd still need Leno in the team. You know what? Pepe is a good shout.
I was actually going to go down the line and say we're being nice to Bernd Leno and we'll get him a new club. But fine, let's Nicolas Pepe. Let's roll with it.
I think for Arsenal,
yes,
I think
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Only 5 Premier League starts, 1 goal, 1 assist this season. Interesting quotes midweek, as you alluded to there, about what's going to happen. So that is the first player. Aston Villa is the next one. So again, Nicole, let's come to you first. Which player do you think needs to leave?
Wow, this is a
you know what we should ask as well? What are the reasoning? Because you made a good point. Some are for the players, some are for the club. So who have you gone for, and what's the reason for it?
I love your reaction. I'm going to get so much stick for this, aren't I? But it's in a good way. I've gone for Watkins.
Wow.
But that is because, look, I like him. He said himself in the week when he played for England, because it was his first start, wasn't it? And he got a goal.
Scored.
Yeah, he said himself he's been inconsistent this season. But I rate him. I think he's good, and I would I want to see him at Arsenal? I don't know if he's quite Arsenal's level, if I'm being completely honest. But I think he's got more to give than we've seen from him. And I'd quite like to see him at a bit of a bigger club.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason you've gone with. Tasty opinion, because he has had like an all right season.
He has 7 goals and an assist, 24 Premier League starts, scored for England as well. Only 26 years of age.
Definitely, for me as well, a bit of a surprise. I think he is clearly, in Gerrard's thinking, ahead of Danny Ings. Like Danny Ings is really struggling for game time now at Aston Villa, and Watkins is the go-to man through the middle. So
Nicole, you said it because you think he can be playing, in your words, at a club
I think
slightly
so.
higher.
Although Villa are obviously doing well right now.
An exciting club to be at, Villa, I'd say.
What's your shout, Dave? What's the
I've gone Leon Bailey just for the fact that we need to free him in a sense. He was fantastic in his last few seasons in the Bundesliga, goals, assists. We've just not seen him play. He had a big impact as well. I think he came on earlier on in the season, left wing back, scored a cracking goal, really involved in the play.
Got injured soon after that.
Got injured, and some players don't fit at certain clubs. They just have a really bad record of injuries. It doesn't work out for them. The confidence isn't there. The system doesn't really suit him either. I think if he goes Ings and Watkins in the diamond, which is, I think it's 75% win rate or something, so it's really good for them when they play both forwards. That he doesn't fit in there. There's no position for him there. I don't think he really suits the Christmas tree they're playing at times with 2 number 10s. That's where I kind of feel for him. I think he's got a lot of talent. This just hasn't worked out for him. So it's almost like, give him another shot somewhere else, see what it is. But at the same time, Ollie Watkins, I can understand why you'd look for maybe, from a personal perspective to Arsenal. That would make a little bit of sense as well. So
do you think it would?
Let's make a decision though.
Because
we're only 2 clubs in, and we've been going for about 10 minutes.
Let's go with Leon, because it would be a bit unfair for Watkins to get booted from Villa.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've had one all there. What I will say is it's more amicable than Adebayo Akinfenwa, Chelsea Rory last week. They got very heated there. Even when they disagree, they're very polite, these two, aren't they?
Well, me and Nicole are great friends. Those two, they've fallen out.
We had a lovely breakfast earlier.
Next one then, I think we might have an agreement on, right? At Brentford.
Ivan Toney?
Yeah, Ivan Toney.
Oh, I got a stat for you, Statman Dave. It's probably wrong.
Go on.
We can't edit either because it's live TV. Penalty taker, absolutely incredible. He scored 22 out of 23 penalties in his career, 95% conversion rate, right?
I think conversion rate's probably a little high, but that was a great stat.
I read it
a great stat.
For Brentford, I think he scored every single one.
Incredible.
Yeah, and Thomas Frank actually came out and said he was the best penalty taker in world football, didn't he?
Yeah, I saw that.
But why are we saying he should leave then? Are we saying it needs to be a step up?
It's the time. I think, he's really good, and I think some of his comments that he's social media, does he want to be at Brentford? Because he's someone that I think would suit Arsenal in a sense. In a different type of way. You've got that threat to play to. I think Arsenal, with Lacazette, that option into feet's really good.
Yeah.
Whether Toney could do that, I'm not sure, but he could definitely be an aerial option. It'd be something different. I think he's got the capability to play at a higher level than Brentford. No disrespect to Brentford.
I agree.
Let's get him up then.
Let's get him up.
11 goals and 2 assists in 25 Premier League games. I think it's a good season he's having, Ivan Toney.
Let's go to the next one then.
Next up, Brighton. So Nicole, who have you gone with for Brighton? Are you in agreement with this one?
Yeah, Bissouma. Yeah, I think the same thing. I think it's his time, right? It's his time to move.
Also, the price. I think they got him for, 15 million?
Yeah.
You'd get a lot more than that for
Contract's
him now.
up next year, though, which could be a sticky point.
Yeah, so
Contract's up in 2023. And I think for Brighton, you're probably going to have to take a reduced fee because of that.
People that would make bids for him, wouldn't you? You'd imagine that
I think Aston Villa, Manchester United have been interested as well at times, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he's a cracking player, cracking little player. But there's so many reasons why he's going to go.
Let's get him up then.
Let's just get him up.
Nice and simple one. Move on to the next player. James Tarkowski at Burnley.
Yeah.
Is this easy because he's out of contract?
Yeah. I think he's clearly ready to go. I mean, he doesn't want to stay. He's not signed into the contract. I think it's time for him. And he's been there for, 6 years?
Another player that's been linked as well. We see each window is linked with a lot of clubs.
And he's 29 now as well, isn't he? So where do we think is a realistic destination for James Tarkowski?
Newcastle, I think, would be a great option. I think they're rebuilding their spine.
Every player. Newcastle.
Newcastle. But no, I think Newcastle, Dan Burn, Tarkowski, that sounds like a bit of a decent pair. And Fabian Schär's been very good back end of the season. But yeah, Tarkowski to Newcastle.
Get him out then.
Okay. Right, let's move on to Chelsea now. Obviously, interesting one. Lots going on with the club, as we know. If there's one player you think needs to leave for whatever reason, who are you going with? And again, give us the reason why, Dave.
It's really upsetting. It's like looking at a brother. Timo Werner.
Does look a bit like him.
Got to
go back to the Bundesliga. I think he's happier there.
Yeah.
It suits his game a little bit more. There's more space in the transition. And when you look at his Chelsea career, Chelsea fans have got to look at it and think, he scored such a big goal against Real Madrid and was involved in so much of the good play. I'd say it's a successful signing, but not a consistent goal scorer.
Because
Is
of
it
the
one
impact.
goal in 14 Premier League games this season?
You know,
Can't
he's scored,
disrespect
I was
him
just
with
about
the
to say, he
stats.
scored one Premier League goal this season, which obviously, worth pointing out, he hasn't started a huge percentage of games, but that is
It's
obviously
not good enough. You can't.
incredible
You know
stat,
what?
isn't it?
He comes across really well, really likeable. Seems like a lovely guy. You guys have probably interviewed him, one of you, but it's just not good. It's just not working.
It's not working.
I think lacking confidence. He made some comments as well this week, actually, about not feeling as comfortable when he's playing for Chelsea compared to the national team. I just think it's not quite right at Chelsea.
No, I agree with that. I
he
think
needs to
there's
move on.
so many clubs in the Bundesliga that would love him. Like, but even someone like Bayern, you could easily see him go to.
Borussia
And
Dortmund,
there's a-
potentially with Haaland leaving.
He's got a lot of talent to him, and I think it's just not worked.
He is a
and that's
talented
fine.
player, isn't he? Do you think he gets the
Let's get him
system?
up then. Let's
Fine,
get him
okay.
up because that's
Total
a
agreement.
big name. I
Yeah.
think it's fair to say,
Joe's
isn't it,
like,
at
I'm
Chelsea?
done with him.
We've got to keep the pace up, haven't we, as we move through. So let's go to the next player at Crystal Palace, which I think is a disagreement, isn't it?
Yeah, I've gone Zaha, which.
Okay. Only got a year left on his contract, so
You know what? Now I'm like, why have I gone for him? I feel for him a little bit. I think he should have got a big move a little while ago, though. Probably not now. I think that time has actually passed. I'm really talking myself out.
I'm just not going to say anything here, Nicole.
I feel like he's carried Palace for so long. I think because he was linked with Arsenal, right?
He was heavily linked with
Everything with
Couple of
Arsenal,
seasons,
Everton
yeah.
as well. There's a lot of windows where it was, you used to have that chat about who's the best player outside the top six, and
Yeah.
Zaha's name was always in that group of players,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Always linked, heavily linked.
I think the
Palace fans
problem-
loved him, and
Yeah.
it seemed like Palace was so reliant upon Zaha. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this season, they've got so many other creative. He's still a great player. There's a lot of they're sort of sharing the load a little bit
Yeah.
more now, Crystal Palace, with the other players that are coming through, the likes of Conor Gallagher and Eze and Mitchell and
Elise.
players
Yeah.
like that, and
Elise,
Elise.
yeah.
But you still think Zaha for you, Nicole?
I think the problem he's had is his value to Palace is so much more than what they were probably willing to take for him financially, if that makes any... It made sense in my head.
or somebody
But
was
do you know
willing to
what?
pay for him.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But, oh, God, should he go
Who have you
now,
gone
though?
for, Dave? Who's
I've
your
just gone with
option?
Yeah,
Tyreek Mitchell. I think the,
Oh, all right, okay.
more on
Makes
like
sense.
they
Exciting
can
player, isn't
sell
he?
him at the
Yeah.
right time.
Is he 22?
He's come
22,
through the
yeah.
academy,
Yeah.
like Wan-Bissaka. Profile's exactly the same. He's won the most tackles any defender in the league. Like, it just feels like it's the right time for them to be like, hey, we've got all these talented young players. Let's just ship one of them off. You're not losing Elise, you're not losing Eze, you're not losing maybe Matata, who potentially got those higher ceilings. So yeah, Tyreek Mitchell. I understand the Zaha
Have you
stuff.
talked yourself out of
Yes,
it? Are you
yeah,
out of
exactly.
it,
A bit, you
Mitchell?
know.
Yeah.
I
Dave
thought-
wants to put his
I think
foot
if it
down
was
here.
Zaha 2 seasons ago, then I think
Yes,
he'd be up
would
there.
agree,
But
yeah.
actually
Okay.
now, yeah.
He's
Done well
almost
for England
become
as
the
well,
old
didn't he,
statesman.
Mitchell? He's on the board, so
Yeah,
let's move
yeah.
straight on to Everton now. This is an interesting one, Everton, isn't it? And you're both in agreement with this one, and it's a big
DCL?
player.
Yeah.
One goal since August.
But he's been, hold on, an injury though.
He's had serious
Yeah.
injury problems,
Yeah.
But
So you-
overall, Everton as a side have collapsed without him.
Yeah, completely reliant on him. Started the season very well. Great. I think he's such a good player. Someone like him at an Arsenal,
Yep.
potentially.
Yeah.
Interesting reports as well this week that Everton supposedly, we don't know how true this is, but £373 million loss in the last 3 years, and certain reports and some journalists, again, don't know if this is completely accurate or not, but certain people reporting again on social media that one of Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison may need to leave because of the finances. Now, last year, Dominic Calvert-Lewin selected for England, of course, playing well for Everton. You wouldn't have imagined that they might have been entertained that, but now, do you think that might happen? Do you think Dominic Calvert-Lewin might be
I
leaving
think
the
so.
side?
They've got to balance the books, then,
Yeah.
And mention Arsenal, could mention Manchester United in the same idea that there's a young English striker that when he's fit and when he's playing, he's got a lot of
great.
quality.
Let's get him up then.
I think he's great.
Let's fly through these next couple of ones
Yeah,
then,
go on.
shall we? What have we got
Rafinha.
next?
Rafinha.
Yeah.
What
Just-
a player.
what a player.
Also been linked with, like everyone at the moment.
Barcelona,
Barcelona.
yeah.
He'll want Champions League football
Let's
as
get him up then, because
well.
I think that's one of the more obvious
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And the next one is also quite obvious as well, isn't it? It's Leicester and Yuri Tielemans,
Tielemans.
who
Yeah.
you're both in agreement over contracts, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be a great option for someone. His contract's up in 2023. He's going to be decent
We'll
value. I
get
think the
good
Telegraph,
money, yeah.
Telegraph will report in this week at about £25 million, which is
That's a bit, yeah.
I know,
well,
yeah.
yeah.
serious
It's great
bargain.
price.
Serious.
It's only 24 as well.
I know.
Tielemans as
Right,
well.
we've got a disagreement coming up at Liverpool for a
Fight
player
me.
that needs to leave.
Right, I'm going with Joe
Is this gonna get
Gomez.
heated? Go on.
I feel like Joe Gomez has got to leave for his international future. Going to go down that line. I feel like Trent Alexander-Arnold's always going to be the right back. I think Van Dijk, Matip, they're always going to be first choice. I think Konate then comes in. Yeah. I think another signing comes in. I think Joe Gomez is brilliant. I just think it's another squad, another team for him to maybe flourish a little bit more. I think defensively is an area where Liverpool have got well stacked, but then they're also really well stacked in attack.
We've got to let Divock Origi go. You've got to let him go.
He's a cult hero for Liverpool. He doesn't play much.
He's out of contract though in the summer.
I feel for him. He's also been there for so many years and then been on loan at points, right? But when he plays, he's so consistent. He'll get that goal. I think he's so good, but he's just always going to be on the bench. He's never going to get enough game
to see the numbers that he could get if he played regularly.
Justice for Divock Origi. He deserves
regular game time. Something tells me we can't argue with Nicole with this one, so we'll let
just thought of that forward line for Liverpool as well. They just have so many forwards now. It's time.
Let's go. Next player, Man City. I think there's a bit of disagreement here. So again, who have you gone with Man City? Nicole won the last one, so it'd be interesting to know who comes out on top of this one.
You've got two players there, Nicole. You can't have two of them.
I couldn't decide. I'm going Ake. Because I rate him. I think he's really good. And again, a similar situation. I don't think he will get enough regular game time, and I think he will be wasted.
He's a little bit like Joe Gomez in the regard that he's got three exceptional central defenders in Laporte.
No fault of his own. The same with Joe Gomez. He's just competition for places.
And he was signed for £40 million as well, so let's not forget that's a big old fee.
Who have you gone with?
Gabriel Jesus. I think because of the spending in the summer, Haaland, Kane, I think the Gabriel Jesus is going to be so far down the pecking line. And the same thing, you've got a talented player there that's not played first-team football. In games like, you look at the Palace game recently, the 0-0 draw, they needed a number 9 for that game specifically. Gabriel Jesus could have played that position and he didn't. So is he out of Pep's mind? Is he out of that? I just think it's time for him to go to maybe in Italy. Juve would be a great club for him. I think it'd fit well
with
for him.
With the exit of Paulo Dybala as well.
Yeah, exactly. He comes in, plays with Vlahovic. There's a great two-man strike force for Allegri.
This is a tough one to pick between the two.
Yeah.
Are you going to agree, or are me and Smithy going to have to make a decision?
I think both of them need to leave, is what I think. So I think they've both got to go.
Could we put them both up?
Could we put them both up?
Can we do that, producers?
It's road.
They are stressing in the gallery right now. They don't know what's going on.
We're going for a two-man
Hang on a minute. We don't know, maybe on...
That'll work. We'll figure it out.
Okay, let's keep on going. Okay, we'll move on.
Let's go to Manchester United.
We're in charge of the board here, Smithy.
We've got two Manchester United players that are both out of contract this summer. They've got to pick one disagreeing on.
No, we're going. I don't know who you've got, but Jesse Lingard. Let him go. Another one. Just when he was at West Ham, he was so good. Like I've said this on the show a few times. He looked like a different player. The confidence, like the goal. I feel so sorry for him that he's then had to come back and basically just sit there and watch and be on the sidelines. He needs to go to a club where he can be the main man because he works well with that.
All right.
And he feeds off that.
You're the Man United fan, Dave. What are you saying?
But the big thing, Paul Pogba. Right, 89 million quid for the transfer. Just over 89 million quid for his wages when he's been at Man United. 290 grand a week. If you're looking at the goals he scored and the assists, it's something about 2 million per goal or an assist. Compare that to Bruno Fernandes. In the same sort of bracket, wages plus transfer fees, around 76 million. He's costing United 830 grand per goal and assist. Those players are comparable. They're both attacking midfielders. It doesn't make sense for Paul Pogba to be around at Manchester United anymore.
Let's make a decision then.
Coming at me with the stats.
Lot of stats. I don't know if
you
you can argue that.
I'm overwhelmed by the stats.
Good argument. Get him out.
One last little thing. So that 178 million could have been used to build a new training ground instead of going back on something that didn't work previously. City built the Etihad campus between 150 million and 200 million. There's my point.
Wow. Okay, the next two we're going to do together because you're agreeing on the next two. Newcastle and Norwich. Are you agreeing on them or have I got that wrong?
We're not agreeing with this.
Yeah. Sean Longstaff.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Jamal Lascelles.
Okay.
I think Longstaff might be the better one, though, to be quite honest.
Well, he's out of contract this summer, right?
Yeah, that's a better shout.
Norwich is the one you agree on, so let's do Norwich fairly quickly. You're both going Max Aarons.
Max Aarons,
Easy pick there. He's going to go to a Premier League club when they get relegated, presumably, you'd think.
Yeah.
Plays regularly, doesn't he?
Yeah, next side then, Southampton. Two different players, again.
I love both of their fullbacks. We've picked one fullback apiece. But for something about Kyle Walker-Peters that's really kind of getting me excited in terms of how he tackles, how he wins the ball. He's got one of the best dribble success rates in the league from fullback. I think he gives you a lot. could be a wing-back, could be a full-back. It's more that I like him, but then I also forgotten about Salisu, who's probably my favourite defender in the Premier League right now, so I've had a bit of a stinker, Nicole, so you can decide who wins it.
So Livramento or Kyle Walker-Peters? You've got Kyle. Why are you going with Livramento?
He's such an exciting talent.
Yeah,
I think the only thing is maybe we need to see a bit more of him.
Yeah.
And I think they'd want a lot of money for him right now, which clubs would maybe not want to pay. But I think he's great, and I think he will go to a bigger club.
So what are we
no
deciding on?
disrespect.
I don't think either will go, but let's go Livramento. I think he'd be the one that clubs would be looking at, but they should be looking at Kyle Walker-Peters.
Love it. Okay, to the next
players.
slide.
Yeah, tough on that.
Your boy Smithy.
The mighty Tottenham. What are you going for? Go on, Dave, what have you gone for?
Nicole's just done you there. And I'll go with Lucas Moura first. I think Kulusevski is so
Great
good.
signing, Kulusevski, isn't he?
A brilliant signing. One of my favourite players to watch. His balance is just amazing. It reminds me a little bit of Kaká, how he moves in terms of his little dip in and dive in.
He's also taken to the
fan.
league very quickly for a player that's come in mid-season from another league as a young player, which is what I've been very impressed with.
Who have you gone for, Nicole?
Now I've gone for Kane.
Is that because he always scores against Arsenal and North London derbies, Nicole?
Hey, sorry, where are you in the table right now?
A little bit of a bite, was that? Reel him in.
This kind of probably doesn't make much sense because he's not going to go to City, is he, really? But it's because he needs to win trophies, Smithy. He deserves to win a trophy, and it's not happening at Spurs.
He's going to win the World Cup.
It's not going to happen. Oh, but like he needs to win the Premier League or Champions League or something. Like, it's not going to happen if he stays at Spurs. He's going to run out of time. And but it's where would he go? Who would pay for him?
Destinations.
And the fee that they'd offer. So
well, exactly.
Moura,
Moura makes more sense from a.
I like your argument, Nicole.
I think Kane still will be interested in potentially.
But where would he go, though?
Options are limited, I agree.
Yeah,
options are
and the
limited.
contract.
Who would pay for him is the problem.
Dave
but
wants
he
to whisper it.
deserves.
I just think
he deserves silverware.
Nicole's arguments were great.
Well, for the talent that he is, it will be insane if he doesn't actually get anything like domestic.
Okay,
we've got up next.
Got to move on. So we're going to Watford next, and I've got a stat for you here, Dave, because you've gone for Emmanuel Dennis. Did you know he's got the most nutmegs of any player in Europe this season?
I actually, but I do look at the
Of course he did.
I was about to deliver that.
Like, come on.
Is
there anything he doesn't know?
One goal in 14. So there is question marks on there, but he's been directly involved in 14 goals in total.
9 goals, 5 assists.
He was
for
very
Watford.
good when Watford were playing offensively.
Yeah.
So I think he'd suit a team that plays 4-3-3. Be a great bench option for a number of the top sides. So I think he's just I don't think he'd cost, as much as maybe Ismail Assar would cost in a sense for Watford.
Yeah.
They've rejected £40 million before.
I like Sarr. I think he's shown himself to be fairly consistent for a while. I think Watford's a tricky one because not a great team, so many different managers. I think it's quite hard to look at the individuals and be able to really, really, really judge them.
I think that I'd say they both go in the summer. If Watford get relegated, they both go.
I'm sorry, producers. We can only have one. We've City. We've already gone to.
Let's go Emmanuel Dennis. I think he's hot
because the next one's interesting.
All right.
Yeah, the next one, West Ham, an agreement straight away.
Declan Rice.
But how on earth does Declan Rice leave, in my opinion, when the fee is that big?
Did you hear the quotes from David Moyes this week?
much?
150 million minimum, he said, but he is not for sale.
Behave, David.
This 150 million quid has literally just come from West Ham being like, it's 150 million quid to the media. When push comes to shove, you offer 80 million, Jesse Lingard.
22 years of age, contract to 2024. What amount of money do you think they would accept?
I reckon 80. I reckon 80 they'd accept.
Do you think? No, I
don't think they'd.
I think he's in a bit of a Kane situation, Declan Rice, where
Yeah.
there's no buyout clause. Jack Grealish obviously had the buyout option within his contract, at £100 million. A lot of people want him, but getting him out of West Ham is going to be
paying that
battle.
money.
But let's put him up anyway, because you're both in agreement over
so good.
Declan Rice, because he is exceptional. We've got one name left.
Final club, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Fabio Silva.
Yeah.
Both agree.
Is he 19? He's really young.
he is.
Still
Yeah.
only 19, but he did cost £35 million.
In 2020, yeah.
I just think he needs game time.
Yeah,
He never should have left Porto. Came through that UEFA Youth team. They won the UEFA Youth League for the first time in their history. So good in that tournament, he's just not played. And it's a shame because anyone that plays Football Manager knows this guy. Just he basically breaks the game.
There we go.
Good old Fabio.
Right, so there is confirmation. Apologies for the symmetry. Manchester City, they picked 2 players, ruined the symmetry, but that is what Dave and Nicole think.
Annoying.
Let us know on Twitter what you think of 1 player from each Premier League club or 2 for Man City that needs to leave.